This is going to be such fun.
This is going to be amazing.
Because it's not often I get interviewed. Normally I'm doing the interviewing because people say, Keith, you're such a radio voice. Makes me worry about my face. You've got the perfect face for radio, Keith.
Yes, you do. And you have the perfect talent. I love it. This is why we have you on the call. But I just want to thank you so much for your time. So to my audience, to my supporters, my amazing individuals that always come on my page and give me amazing comments. My name is Miss Manifest from Achieving Wealth Effortlessly. I have a phenomenal person here. I met him in London, and I definitely found him as an extraordinary person. So, you know, I must have just had that thought to say, let me get him on my show because this is important, okay? So Keith, please allow my audience, my supporters to know who you are, your full name, and where you're from, and what do you do?
Well, my name is Keithanthony Taylor, also known as Hypno Sensei, and that's a name given to me by one of my Chinese students who I was teaching English years ago, and she gave me that name because she thought I knew everything. I was just good at Googling stuff while we were talking.
That is so good. Oh my gosh. So that's important because I tell my supporters all the time on my podcast, you must Google. That's a sign. Google gets you. That's like your mother, your father, your cousin. That's another side of your family, Google. They answer your questions, right?
Yes, it does. Although they're tending to censor stuff a lot more than they used to now. I used to be able to find everything from Google, but nowadays they're being a lot more selective. You can't find anything anymore.
There you have, you got to look a little harder, but it's okay.
Yeah.
But that's fine. So tell them exactly. So what got you starting hypnosis? Like being this hypnosis person, like what got you into that field?
Well, I've always been, I used to be very introverted, very quiet, very shy. So I didn't have much to say. And because I didn't talk, people used to talk to me, and they used to use me as a sounding board. So they'd tell me all about their problems and their troubles. And so I used to just sit there and listen to all this stuff they would tell me about their, well, I won't use any swear words. I could, but
yeah,
all the muck that goes on in their lives.
Okay.
You know the word I mean.
Yes.
And so they used to sit there and tell me all about their troubles. And I used to just listen, and I had this way of reframing what they were saying. So when they paused for breath, I would just interject with what we call bridges and reframes. Do you understand what I mean by reframe?
Yes, but you could definitely, break it down. So somebody maybe that don't understand that you can break it down to them.
Yeah, well, when people are telling you about their problems, what they're doing is that they're really using what we call a loop. They're going around and around and around, telling you about their problems, but they're really, although they have different stories about what's going on, really the story is always the same. They're telling you about bad luck and how everything is bad and how nothing goes right. But it's really a loop they're going around. They're convinced that everything is bad and everything is going to go wrong. And it's just a loop they get into. They can't break the loop. But it's easy to break the loop by just saying the opposite of what they're saying. Like the smoker, he says, I need my cigarettes. And he can break that loop very easily by just saying, I don't need cigarettes. If he was to just keep saying, I don't need cigarettes, he's broken the loop straight away. And he could carry on smoking, but if he keeps saying, I don't need cigarettes, then he's breaking that craving. He's trapped in the loop of saying, I need cigarettes. But if I was to say, I don't need cigarettes, earlier on, I was thinking, because I've had a meal earlier on, and I was starting to think, I'm hungry. But I just said to myself, that's nonsense. You've just had a meal. How can you be hungry? Because I could easily have gone and got some more food, but I know that I can't possibly be hungry because I've just had a meal. So I said, come on, Keith, you can't be hungry. So I just interrupt the loop by saying, you're stupid. You can't be hungry. You've just had a meal. So I had a glass of water instead.
So smart. So you just help two people that smoke, people that overeat. Look at this. This is value within the first 5 minutes.
You have to interrogate your dialogue. You have to interpret what's going on. You have to break that. If I give you a very simple example, if you get yourself a microphone, here we've got a microphone. If I point this microphone at the speaker, you very quickly get into a feedback loop. You start to get the screech because the sound comes out of the speaker, it goes into the microphone, it goes into the amplifier, then it gets louder. Then it comes out of the speaker into the microphone, goes into the amplifier, it gets louder, and it'll get louder and louder until something goes bang. Right. And that's what goes on with our lifestyle, because if we keep smoking, our lungs are going to get filled with tar and we're going to get sick, aren't we? Because we keep smoking, we get more tar, we get more carbon monoxide in our lungs. Our lungs get, or not in our lungs, we get monoxide in our lungs that goes into our blood, our arteries get clogged up. And the more we do it, the more system gets clogged up until we get sick.
Right.
But if we start saying, really, I'm not sure that I need to smoke anymore. I don't really like it. Because we're saying to ourselves, I like smoking. But what if we said, I don't like smoking? Then pretty soon you're going to say to yourself, why do I do this? And years ago, I said that to myself. I said, why am I doing this? And then I just stopped smoking. It was that easy.
That's amazing. You see, and this is self-talk. So since I'm the manifestation strategist / coach, I'm always pumping this into my audience. And it's so amazing that you're saying this, because I can say it. But when you hear a third party, it's like, wow, you're helping somebody right now. I appreciate you sharing that. Because changing your self-talk
I used to be really shy. I would never dream of talking to a wonderful woman like you. My ears would be glowing. They'd be like beacons. I'd be red-faced. I wouldn't know what to say. And I would think to myself, what if she said something I haven't got an answer for?
Listen.
And I used to work in a bar too, so I had to talk to people all the time. But I found it really difficult. But when I was working behind a bar, I didn't find it hard, because I had this barman hat on, and I knew that all the women liked barmen. So it was like I was wearing a disguise. I didn't have any trouble talking to the girls then. But when I was on the other side of the bar, I didn't know what to do. It was strange. But then I started to change, because I realized from being behind the bar that all the guys never talked to the really good looking women. If there was a woman who was what's the word, I can't think of the word, the word for I can't think of the word for the really not imposing, the really scary women. What do you call that?
The really scary women.
The ones that look really good and look really powerful and tall, and you don't approach them because it's intimidating.
Oh, intimidating women. Oh, okay. I thought you meant the specific woman. I thought they have a different name. Intimidating women. Yes.
The intimidating women because they're really good looking, or they're power dressed, and guys don't approach them because they're frightened.
Right.
And so I started looking for the intimidating women that the guys don't approach, and I started approaching them because I knew I was going to get no competition. Right.
And that was it.
And it was easy because they were impressed. They were impressed that I was approaching them.
Okay.
And I didn't have any big chat up line for them. I had this really great speech. Shall I tell you what it was?
Sure, share it.
Hello. Worked every time.
That's it.
What more do you need?
Right. So so it looks like your mindset was strong, right? So you being the person that's hearing the conversation of your friends, your family, and you're putting the bridge together by changing their loop, right? Because you was changing your loop so you could speak to strangers. You can help people stop smoking cigarettes by changing the loop. and things of that
Yes.
nature. Is that what hypnosis is? Like, is that what you do to certain people? Like, if somebody came and said, hey, you know, I want to close deals. Like, I'm so nervous to ask people for money. Like,
Yes.
and people want to get over it. How would you how would you promote hypnosis to somebody like that, or maybe somebody that can't even fly to their dreams? Things like that. How could you help somebody? Like, you
Well,
have to close their eyes, and what do you do?
well, if you use the model of Jim Rohn, have you heard of Jim Rohn?
He's my favorite mentor.
Yeah. Well, you must know then that he says if you want to double your success rate, then you're not getting enough failure.
Yep.
You need to get more failure.
More failure.
Go out looking for enough failure, you're going to get more success.
Right.
So the people that aren't closing deals because they're afraid of failure.
Can you stop somebody being fearful of that? Like, can you possibly hypnotize somebody to get over fear?
Absolutely. It's so easy.
What's the process in 3 steps, or is it longer than 3 steps?
Well, it isn't 3 steps. What I would, in fact, what I do is a lot of conversational hypnosis. We don't need, because the old model of hypnosis is putting somebody into a trance. Because people think that hypnosis is sleep, but we don't need to put people into sleep anymore. We can do it conversationally, and hypnosis is not sleep, but it's an altered state of awareness where we bypass the critical faculty. It's, you know, you imagine there's a gatekeeper in here that stops information getting in, because change is the subconscious thinks that change is dangerous. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, it does.
Because the subconscious has to protect you from things like poisonous snakes, poisonous spiders,
right,
and that kind of thing. So it's trying to protect you from change because it views change as potentially dangerous.
Right.
So we have to get past that critical faculty, which is trying to protect you.
Okay, so how would you do that? Like, how would you get somebody to get over the fears of talking to people, to close deals, or maybe get on that flight that they was nervous, or maybe just, you know, the being on top of a tall mountain, they can't do a hike because they're so scared of heights, you know, things of nature. So, like, how would you?
Well, the only fears that we ever have when we're born is fear of loud noises, isn't it?
Yes.
Fear of falling.
Okay.
And what's the other one? You have to excuse me, I've got a major head injury which we didn't talk about, and it makes it difficult for me to recall things, but it's fear of heights, fear of loud noises, and no, fear of falling, fear of loud noises. I can't remember what the other one is.
It's
It'll come to me in a minute.
I appreciate you, you know, even coming on, spending your time. If you had a head injury, and like I would have never known, because you're so sharp, and I appreciate you spending your time here to answer the questions as well. So if you can't remember something, it's perfectly fine. We could just go to the next question. But yeah, you could continue.
But we are taught by our parents when we're growing up to comply, aren't we? We're taught the biggest thing we're taught by our parents is no, isn't it? Mm-hmm. You're not allowed to go there. You're not allowed to do stuff. We're not brought up in a positive environment. Right. We're brought up in a positive restriction, aren't we? Compliance, and we're taught to obey, aren't we? Right. We're not taught to stretch our limits, are we? We're not taught to achieve.
Right.
Because when we're babies, we're taught to stretch our limits, aren't we? To learn how to walk very quickly. And up until about the age 7, that's what we do. But when we get to 7, we have limitations put on us, don't we?
That's true. We do.
And that's the terrible thing. If I had children, I would not do that to them. I would teach them to stretch their limits.
Okay, so you're saying that's how people have a lot of fears because of that. And then, like, they just can't stretch themselves to be more because they're conditioned into this mindset that they are just having all these different little fears. And I get it. Yes,
and phobias. We get our phobias from other people. Because if our mother or our father comes across a spider and they shout or scream or run away,
that's me.
And we've got our baby with us or a child, then they're going to think, oh, spiders are dangerous, aren't they?
Right. Okay.
And that's where the phobia comes from.
So once again, okay, because I'm scared of spiders. I don't like to admit that I have that fear, but I do. And, and I've been working on it. I just scream while it's in the room. Know, so these things with the hypnosis, like,
I'll help you with that phobia right now. That's very quickly, because you key phrase that you used, I'm scared of spiders.
Right.
Then what I want you to do is to delete that phrase from your vocabulary.
Okay.
Stop saying that.
Okay.
Start saying, if you was to stay and said, I'm looking forward to the next time I see a spider.
Oh, I'm looking forward to the next time I see a spider.
Because they're lovely. They're not going to hurt you.
They're lovely.
The majority of the time, there are. It's okay to have a fear of spiders, because sometimes they're poisonous, but most spiders are not.
Okay.
So it's normal to have a fear of spiders, because sometimes they are poisonous. So it's absolutely okay, isn't it?
Right. Oof, my heart
is
like.
But as an adult, you know that you probably have you had that phobia since you were a child?
I have. Yes.
Yeah? So as an adult,
that's the only one I did.
Say again?
Oh no, I had a phobia of many insects, but I overcame that by facing them. But the spiders, like you said, like since I'm a manifestation coach, I do speak like this, but I didn't say that specific affirmation. So now I'm like, okay, because now they're landing on my car every day. I must be attracting. They're just like, boop. And now I'm like, oh my, I'm driving.
And you know, as a grown up, you're more powerful than a spider, don't you?
I do. You're
so you know that it's more afraid of you than you are of it.
Okay, you're right.
Yeah.
I gotta fix it.
Because you could do a spider a lot of damage, couldn't you?
Yeah, of course. I wouldn't.
I wouldn't like to be a spider if you were around.
I don't kill animals or insects. I do my best not to. I would swat it or something. But no, I get it.
So you've got control over the spider, haven't you?
Yes, I got control of it. It's lovely. Spiders are amazing.
They're incredible. Yeah. And so you could see yourself. Don't worry, I'm not going to bring any spiders into the room. But look, we're talking about spiders, and you have no fear.
No, a little bit. No, I don't have any fear. It's going away. It's gone.
Yeah, and there are no giant spiders around. Isn't that lucky?
Yes, definitely. There's no giant spiders around at all. Mm-hmm. You're absolutely right. So you're saying hypnosis is more like affirmations, kind of, because I teach on manifestation. So hypnosis is a lot of affirmations and mantras and thinking positive, right?
I used to have a problem with needles and injections and blood tests.
Okay.
And it was such a problem that I used to go to have them done, even as an adult, and I wasn't afraid, strangely, but yet I would still have syncope, passing out, when I had them done, which was really annoying, because I'd lost the fear, but I was still passing out, which doesn't make sense, does it?
No.
And that's because in my subconscious mind, the child was still in there. Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
So even though I wasn't afraid, there was a subconscious routine going on that was still causing my blood pressure to drop and making me have syncope. So I had to deal with that by making a conscious decision that I had to start saying to myself, everything's okay, and I'm looking forward to the next time I have a blood test. And once I did the research and discovered the mechanism, it's the my blood pressure is dropping when I'm having it done. So I had to start saying to myself, my blood pressure is not going to drop, and I'm looking forward to the next time I have it done. And I had to make jokes about it with the phlebotomist.
Okay.
To deal with the fear that was going on with this unconscious process that I wasn't aware of, going on in my subconscious mind. And so I had to start saying to myself, everything's okay, I'm looking forward to the next blood test. And I started volunteering for them. I started saying to my GP, how about giving me a blood test? Because I'm taking these prescription drugs.
Wow.
That I have to take all the time, and I should be getting regular blood tests that my GP wasn't giving me. So I started volunteering for them as well.
Wow. So you faced the head on.
Now I don't have that problem even anymore.
Okay, good. Congratulations.
And I even volunteer for surgery without anesthetics.
Oh my goodness, I'm so happy you brought that up, because I want to know that story. And so does everybody that's listening to this. We want to know this story. So let me tell you about Keith. Keith said that he did surgery on himself without any, what is it, anesthesia?
Anesthetic, yes.
None of that. Where did you do it? How did it happen? Why did you do that? How strong is your mind if you could do that?
It's not necessarily that strong, but there are times in your life where, and this comes in with motivation. There are times in your life when you have to make a decision. And if you want to achieve, you've got to make that decision. And this is a time when you have to make your no be no and your yes be yes. Because if you can't make that distinction, you can't achieve anything. And it doesn't matter whether you're a smoker who wants to quit, or if you're somebody who wants to lose weight and get into that smaller dress size,
right?
Or whether you want to get out of bed in the morning to get to work, or whether you want to pass your driving test. You have to make the distinction that your no has got to be no and your yes has got to be yes. And you've got to mean it. And the same, going back 42 years ago, when they said to me, Mr. Taylor, you've been in a bad accident, you've been in a coma, you're paralyzed from the neck down, and you're always going to be that way. And I had to make a decision that it wasn't going to be that way. And it was impossible for me, because I knew the evidence was there. I knew that it was impossible for it to be anything else, and I accepted that. But then I made a decision that my no was going to be no and my yes was going to be yes, and I was going to beat it, and it was impossible. So do you think I had to lock in that yes decision?
Yeah, immediately.
Yeah. So you have to make that definite decision. So if you want to get more sales, if you want to chat to women or men confidently, you have to make that yes decision. If you want to give up smoking, you just got to make that yes decision. Then you don't need me, the hypnotist, because you've got it in you to achieve whatever it is that you want to do. You just got to make that definite yes decision. That's all it is.
Smart. That's hypnosis. So how did you get to the point where you said, I'm gonna buy something so sharp, whatever it is that you use, because I don't know if there's a special like scalpel.
Well, it was a scalpel, and there was something else that wasn't sharp at all. It was a. You got a strong stomach for this?
Yeah, of course I do.
It was a dessert spoon.
A dessert spoon, the little teeny tiny. So you use that.
About that big.
About this small. And so in detail, could you go in detail of what you did? So before you was doing it, what was going on with you that you needed to do the surgery anyways?
Well, I'd had a bad seizure because of the head injury. I have seizures, and I'd been in bed one night and had a bad seizure, and rubbed all the skin off the back of my left leg. Friction in bed. I woke up in the morning with no skin on the back of my leg. And I've lost your sound now.
You did?
Oh no, you must have gone a wow without making any sound. You were miming.
Oh.
You were speechless.
Speechless?
Yes.
Sorry.
And then I went to the hospital, and they dressed it, and the hospitals in England are appalling in some cases, and especially in Croydon where I live.
Okay.
And they were changing the dressing once a month, which is ridiculous. They should have been changing the dressing every day, or maybe twice a week or something. And this was in 1988, at the time of the Falklands War, I think that was. Changing the dressing once a month, and it got badly infected. And they also did something else, that they put an experimental dressing on it, which was like cling film, saran wrap. And I said to them, this wound is already infected. And it was obvious to me that they shouldn't be putting that kind of a dressing on that kind of a wound, because it was full of infection. There was pus in there.
Yeah.
And it was obvious to me that they were sealing all that pus in with,
of course,
with a dressing that couldn't breathe. And they they had to lay this dressing on top of the good skin on the outside of the wound. And I said to them, when you take that dressing off, you're going to pull all the good skin off. And they said, no, it's going to be okay. And so they put this dressing on and left it on for a couple of weeks, and the wound got even worse, and all the good skin around the wound started to decay. And eventually they pulled the dressing off, which pulled all the skin off, so they doubled the size of the wound. And it was painful when they pulled it off. They didn't give me any kind of painkiller. They just yanked it off, and the wound, which was at the time about 7 inches long by about 2 inches wide, was now 14 inches long by 4 inches wide, and it was gangrenous. And they carried on dressing it, and about 6 months later, they said, Mr. Taylor, we're going to have to cut your leg off below the knee.
Ooh. And what happened after that?
Well, I don't normally swear, but I did on that occasion. I said, you're not cutting my leg off.
That's right.
They said, we have to, or you're going to die. So I stood up and I walked towards the door, and they were saying, you're going to die, Mr. Taylor, if we don't cut it off. And I left, and I didn't go back.
How dare they say that to you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was really painful, because when the blood has got nowhere to go, it's I can't explain it. It was very painful. You don't want to be there.
No. God bless you, by the way.
So I went home, I sat down in my kitchen, and I got a bowl with some water in it. And no, actually I didn't. It was an empty bowl. I got two bowls. One was empty, and one had some hot water and some Dettol, disinfectant.
Yes.
Which is very strong stuff, kills 100% of germs. And I diluted it quite a lot, or so I thought. And I got a scalpel and a dessert spoon, because I figured what I need ideally is some medicinal maggots. They use maggots to clean wounds?
Yeah, I heard about that, but I didn't know that was real.
Because the maggots eat the infected stuff, and they leave the good stuff.
Okay.
But I didn't have any maggots, so I thought, what have I got that's like maggots? And I thought a dessert spoon, because it's got a rounded edge on it, which is sharp enough to scrape away all the gangrene and blunt enough to leave the good flesh.
Smart.
So I debrided the wound quite deep using the spoon, and I used the scalpel to do the fine work.
Right.
And I had to brace myself, because I knew it was going to be painful, but I decided to detach myself, or dissociate myself from the pain. As I said to myself, well, you're down there, meaning the leg, and I'm up here. And that's what I did. I just dissociated from it, because I thought, I've got to get this done.
Okay.
So you have to make a decision that we're going to do this, and you have to just say, you're there, I'm here. And you just have to, and you minimize the pain by accepting that it's there, but you don't have to feel it.
Okay. So you just mute it up.
Because because pain is all imaginary. It's happening in here. It is real, but it's imagination. And if you want to, you can scream and holler and say, oh, this is terrible, this is horrible, and I can't take it, and you make it worse and worse and worse. Or you can say, it's okay, I'm fine, I'm getting on with this, I'm doing it, we're all okay, everything's all right, and the pain subsides.
Man,
because you're telling your subconscious that this needs to be done, we're getting on with it, everything's okay, and the subconscious will say, okay, we're fine with this, we're getting on with it, we're doing it. Because pain is only a signal. It's a warning that there's something wrong. But if you tell the subconscious that everything's okay, then the signal goes down.
Okay, so we should do that with anyone feeling sick. So we should immediately do that from the beginning, like if we was doing surgery in our mind, basically working on that pain, whatever it.
And it's exactly the same when you go into a situation when if you're selling a product.
Okay.
You go in there, you're all terrified and worried that the board of directors are going to give you a hard time, and they're going to ask you questions that you're not going to be able to answer. And your anxiety goes up, doesn't it? Up and up and up and up until you're sweating, and you're panicking, and eventually you're going to pass out with fear, aren't you? In worst case scenario.
Yes.
But instead of that, you can say everything's fine. We're okay with this, and we're going to give a really good presentation. And your anxiety comes down, and you sit down. Because your anxiety comes down, your higher functions go up. You're able to think smarter, you're able to answer questions, you're able to give the right answers, and you're able to give a better presentation. Your cognitive functions rise, and then you can really impress the board of directors. And that doesn't mean you're going to get the sale, but it's going to increase your chances of getting the sale, isn't it?
Thank you so much for that.
And it's the same brain, using the same parts of the brain that control anxiety, fear, pain. It's all the same mechanism that's at work, isn't it?
That's amazing. Listen, you gave so much value to my supporters. I know they're going to fall out their seats talking about you did surgery with a little dessert spoon and a scalpel. Like, they're going to fall out their seat. Like, that's right along. Like, once you do that with everything, and that's it. Like, my supporters are going to be like, wow. Because I say it all the time on my podcast.
Yeah, it's just anxiety, whether it's surgery or whether it's going into a boardroom to do a sale, it's anxiety is the same. You have to, and one of the keys to dealing with anxiety happens right here, the nose. We have to learn to breathe. And where do most people breathe? From here, don't they?
Oh, yeah. I do.
What a good thing to do is to learn to shut your mouth. And I say with the greatest respect, shut your mouth, learn to use this. Because if you breathe through your nose, you get 15 to 20% more oxygen going into your blood.
Wow.
And it also triggers your vagus nerve. And we need to look after the vagus nerve, because the vagus nerve is the largest nerve in your body. It connects the brain, or the base of the brain, to your heart, your liver, kidney, lungs, your digestive system, and it controls the whole of the cardiovascular system. It's connected to everything. Only if you breathe through your nose. So if you breathe through your nose, it triggers the parasympathetic nervous, you don't need to remember these terms, it triggers the parasympathetic nervous system that makes you calm.
This is big. Thank you.
And that means that your autoimmune system is fired up. That keeps you young, it keeps you healthy, it stops you getting germs. If you don't breathe through your nose, then you will trigger your sympathetic nervous system, and that will mean that your autoimmune system is suppressed. You'll get disease, and that's why the news is pumping out all of this bad news all the time about COVID.
Because all of the bad negative brings down your frequency.
That's right.
Makes you ill. We do have a few more minutes. I think we have about 3 more minutes. So I just wanted to just let them know where they could get some testimonials on your work. If they want to contact you and get over some fears that they can't do it with all of the great tools that you gave them. I don't like to use that word "can." If they choose not to get over these fears and anxieties, that they can contact you so that they can actually learn how to do it as a mentor. Where can they find you at?
You can see testimonials about me on my website. My website is a bit old. I'm putting up a new website very soon because I need to make my website very targeted.
No.
But I'm catching up with my tech because my old website is not that great. Did you look at my website, by the way?
No, I haven't checked it out. I'm going to check it out after this.
It's not that great, but I do have some video testimonials on my website. including a video testimonial from another great man called Les Paul, not the guitar, but Les Paul. He had a brain aneurysm. He had surgery done on him, brain surgery, in a car park. How about that? They did that because the only hospital where he could have it done was still being built, and the equipment for his brain surgery was in the car park. The theatre hadn't been completed, so they did brain surgery on him in the car park without anaesthetic. And his mother was holding his hand, begging him not to die. And when they opened his head up, they found, remarkably, that his brain was so badly deformed from birth that he couldn't possibly have been alive since birth. And they had to reconfigure his brain because it was badly deformed from birth. And they did all of that in a car park in the sunshine with an audience. Everybody in the car park wanted to come over and watch.
What? And he got the information from you, like, to be able to do something like this? And you like?
No, this was before I met him. But I did give him some help, and he gives a testimony about the help that I gave him.
That's amazing. So yeah, that you see, these type of stories is what makes people's issues pennies and little increments of issues.
But what makes me so angry, and this often happens with the medical people, before they did the surgery, they told him this is going to hurt a lot. And that's outrageous, because if a hypnotist was with him, they would say to you, this is not going to hurt at all, because we do things like that painlessly. He did not need to have all that pain. Had I been with him, that could have been done completely painlessly, even without anesthetic.
You hear that, guys? Listen, I appreciate you, and I just, oh my goodness, this is amazing. I know you don't have an Instagram yet, right?
I don't, because I don't use a mobile phone.
Oh, okay.
I don't use a mobile phone because the radiation is dangerous, and when you've got 80% brain damage, you're not putting this out on a video, are you? It's going to be a podcast.
Well, it's a video and it's a thing. I could edit it out if you like.
Because I could show you my brain damage because I've got it on a slide here.
Wow. Did you want me to show it? I don't mind. It's up to you.
Well, if you'd like to see it, I can show you.
Yeah. The audience is going to see it. Is that okay with you?
So the audience will see it. That's okay with me. No problem. Let me just put it up.
Let's get. I'm sure my audience wants to see.
Where is it? I just have to change my background. That's all.
That's fine.
I think it's on here. Let me. Oh, here it is.
Wow.
And now you can't. You see on the right there. That is a normal brain.
Okay.
You see it's all nice and uniform, nice black color.
Right.
And if I move my head out of the way, you can see this is my brain. That's just one slice. We're losing the need to change the camera a bit maybe so we can
Oh my goodness, that's so amazing. So the white part of the brain is what?
The white part is, you can see that the entire brain is much lighter in color, but the whiter parts are the brain damaged, and you can see down the center, you can see the two halves of the brain are not properly connected because the white area, and you can see around the edge of the brain, the membrane that supports the brain is damaged, so my brain is flopping about. And that's just one slice. I've seen my brain top down as a 3D image, and that if you see that whole picture, this was done last August last year.
God bless you, because you would never even notice. I'm sure my audience would have said they would have never knew you had some type of.
And a friend of mine has seen this. She's a second-year medical student. As soon as she saw it, she said, "Goodness," which she said some colourful language actually, but let's say goodness. And she said, "You should be blind, deaf, and dumb, and crippled."
I'm so blessed to have you on this show. This is just remarkable. Like, there is no reason why somebody should feel like they can't achieve their dreams at this point. Because if you can do it, everybody can. It's all about the mindset and mastering that.
I have to admit that having overcome being paralyzed from the neck down, it makes it very difficult for me to hold my tongue. When I talk to people like smokers who tell me how difficult it is and how hard it is for them to give up smoking, when I think how hard it was for me to overcome being paralyzed from the neck down, when it was impossible for me to overcome that, because the evidence was there, and I had to really make a decision to overcome that. And I fell over so many times because the hospital wouldn't help me. They wanted me to accept that I was paralyzed. So I had to do it all on my own, because even when I started to get the movement back, they still wanted me to accept that I would never walk. So I had to do it all on my own. And when people tell me as a hypnotherapist how tough it is for them, I really have to bite my tongue not to tell them about my background.
Right. Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much for your time. You got something else?
I haven't told you about having surgery done without anesthetic.
What? Let's hear it. Let's go. I want to hear this.
Last year I had 3 surgeries done without anesthetic. Now, when I say surgeries, this was not surgeries with a knife, but they were surgeries nonetheless, because I've had an endoscopy. That's a camera down the throat without a tranquilizer.
Right.
And I understand in America they put you out for that, don't they?
Yeah.
But in England they don't. You're wide awake, fully alert. And let me take this picture off because it disturbs me looking at it.
You a superhero? Because
how do I take this off?
My audience is looking at this video like, whoa.
Oh, that's better. I've got a different picture up this time. Never mind. I'm in the pub now. But I had 3 surgeries done. I had an endoscopy done. I know that you have it done while you're asleep, don't you? But I had it done without. Over here they only tranquilize you, but I didn't have the tranquilizer. I elected not to have that done. And I have a gag reflex. You know, I can't even clean my teeth without gagging, which is despicable considering I'm a hypnotherapist. but they put the tube down my throat, and I was thinking, I want to gag, but I didn't, because I got this conversation going where I got my lungs to talk to my head and my throat, and I imagine my lungs talking to the parts, and I got my lungs to say, come on, you're not choking, your lungs are breathing, everything's okay. Although my throat was saying, no, I'm gagging. And my lungs are saying, no, you're not. And my nose was saying, you're breathing, everything's all right. Because I was breathing through my nose, my lungs were breathing. So I got my nose and my lungs to say, hold on, everything's all right. Although my throat wanted to gag, because when you've got something in your throat, you want to swallow, don't you?
Right. So you have to stay still and calm.
So I had to relax and keep this dialogue going to keep myself calm, although I wanted to choke because I got this thing in my throat.
Right.
And so it was okay. And I was looking at the screens, because you've got screens there, so I could see what's going on. So I was paying attention to what was on the screen. So it's very interesting. So I just had to ignore the choking feeling in my throat, and I had this dialogue going between my chest, my lungs, and my nose and my head, saying, "Stay calm, everything's all right." But I had this choking feeling in my throat. And it was funny. And I just had to say to myself, "This is funny, and everything's all right." So that's what you have to. This is what you have to do when you're panicking. You just have to say to yourself, everything's okay. And this is what you do with spiders. Just say, everything's okay. I'm looking forward to the next time I see a spider. And if you keep saying that, next time you see a spider, you're going to be okay.
Yeah, I'm going to be fine now. Everything's fine.
That fear you had was a thing you had. You don't have it now. It was a thing of the past, isn't it?
Yeah, we're gonna definitely. We'll see this week, because lately it's been coming in my car because it rains, so they fly, not fly, but they land from the trees.
And don't kill them.
I don't kill them.
Pick it up and put it out the window.
I mean, that's what I usually do. I mean, but I was always just super scared. So now that I know how to react, you know, I don't really like to kill insects. Like if I do it by accident, I feel really terrible. And
and I've also had a cystoscopy. Do you know what that is?
No. Would you like to explain?
Well, for a man, it's really nasty because they get the camera they put down your throat. They do the same thing, but they put it into a man's urethra. Do you know where that is?
Yes, I do.
In his penis.
Mm-hmm.
And I had that done also without tranquilizer, because in America, I imagine they probably put you to sleep for that as well.
I would imagine.
Yeah. And I watched a video of it on YouTube before I went, and they had this guy, and he was this really big guy with tattoos, and he was a biker, and he was screaming. It was funny.
And you were fine.
And I thought, I'm going to have that done. And they used, the camera looks like an octopus. It looks really scary. And they did that to me, and I'm looking at the two screens, and the surgeon's there, and he slipped it into my penis.
Yeah.
And it's not pleasant. And it goes all the way into your penis, all the way up into your bladder, so they can have a look at what's going on in there. And it's not pleasant. But I just laid there relaxing and laughing and joking with the surgeons that are doing it, and it was okay.
Okay.
Because I'm relaxed, and it's a really thick camera. You don't want to be putting one of those. It's thicker than that.
Wow.
And it's a bit of a stretch to get it in.
Yeah, I could imagine. And you got to condition your mind to.
And I just relaxed, and they put it in, and because I was not tranquilized, they were very careful. So they took much more care, and they were ashen faced because I'm laughing and joking with them, and it was quite funny because they'd obviously never had anybody laughing and joking with them while they do this. So this is your third surgery that you're talking about. The next one is the fourth one. This was the second one.
But the other one that you talked about previously was a whole different surgery.
Oh, when I did it on myself, I suppose you could call it the third surgery, yes.
Yeah.
And the next one was a full colonoscopy where they put the camera up the back passage all the way into your chest.
Yeah, you did that alone.
And I had that done without tranquilizer as well, and without pain. And as I'm walking in, and I had two very attractive lady surgeons doing this. And as I'm walking in, they said, we hear you haven't been tranquilized, Mr. Taylor, and you've not had a painkiller. I said, that's right. They said, are you sure that you wouldn't like to have something for it? And I said, no, I'm fine. And they said, it's going to be painful, Mr. Taylor. Are you sure? And I'm walking across the room all the way to the gurney. And all the way they're telling, but it's going to be painful, Mr. They like to tell you in hospitals over here that it's going to be painful. And us hypnotherapists, we're always telling people off for this. Don't tell us it's going to be painful.
Right.
And we're always telling people that when they give people injections, don't tell them that. We tell them, we try to school them. Don't tell them it's going to be a prick or a sting. We give them different language to use, but they really refuse to use it. Especially with children, we tell them what to say to make it easier, but they refuse. It's as if they get a buzz out of hurting people over here.
Interesting.
So I was laying there with them doing the thing with the camera, and this camera's even bigger. And they're ashen-faced, and they're being apologetic all the time while they're putting the camera up. And I'm watching the two screens, because there's a screen on this side and a screen on that side. And then they're being very careful, and I'm saying, look, come on, girls, let's just get on with this. Let's get it done. And it was very uncomfortable because it's a very stiff camera, and it's not that flexible. And they're putting, and I could feel it going in all the way. Are you okay? You're not going to faint or anything, are you?
No, I'm just picturing it. I'm a visualizer, and I'm just like, wow, like this.
And I'm trying to keep myself as relaxed as I can.
Yeah.
And And I'm doing the best I can not to laugh at them, because they're obviously scared that I'm not anesthetized or anything, and they're being very careful as they do it, and they're filling me with cold, and I don't understand why it is. You'd think they would warm the water up, but they're filling me with cold water while they're doing it, because they inflate you with cold water to open it up so they can see more easily.
Right, and you had to do all of this.
Right, and they use cold water, and I don't understand why they couldn't use. I suppose you have to pay extra for warm water.
Maybe.
After I had the cystoscopy in the penis, they then let you leave, and then you can go to the toilet, which is in the waiting room. But when you go to the toilet, that was something else. That was painful. And you can't scream because it's in the waiting room, the toilet, and all these people are in the waiting room, so you can't scream.
So you did all of this.
That was painful.
God bless you.
Yeah, but that's my story. I think I've taken enough of your time. We've been on, how long have we been? That's been about an hour and a quarter.
Hour and some change. No, we did fantastic. I appreciate you coming on the show. I look forward to unleashing this to the...
I didn't give you my contact details where people can find me.
Yes, and you could give them your email. It's in front of your website together for right now.
Yeah, my email is hypnosis@uwclub.net. That's Uniform Whiskey, UW Club, COTLUB.net. And my website, which is going to change quite soon, but the website at the moment is hypnosensi.co.uk.
Fantastic.
But that will be changing, because I'm going to be opening up 10 new websites. Each one is going to be for a specific topic.
Okay, fantastic. So that sounds amazing. We look forward to seeing this information. So I want to thank you for coming on the show and spending your amazing time.
Can I give my telephone number?
Sure, you can give your telephone number.
This is a UK telephone number. It's a landline. It is 0208 664 9595. So if you're calling from the USA, you have to use 44 and don't dial the first 0.
Got it. Thank you so much for sharing that. So once again, this is Achieving Wealth Effortlessly. So I'm interviewing the world's greatest manifestors, and this right here is a super, super amazing story about how he manifested all the things that he did while getting surgeries with no type of pain. And I'm just super excited to have you on my show sharing this, because it's going to wow everybody. And also for you guys that haven't purchased the Spiritual Fitness Survivor 2, I talk about how to follow your signs and how to achieve your dreams spiritually and energetically. And this is one of the dreams. I always wanted to interview amazing people like you. And I just appreciate your time, and I look forward to having you on my show at a later date. And maybe we can have somebody you hypnotize on live camera one day if they if they approve of that. That'd be dope.
That would be wonderful. You can see people being hypnotized by me on my YouTube channel.
I can't wait. So once again, can you give your YouTube channel's name?
If you search for Keithanthony Taylor, I think you might find me, or Keithanthony, no spaces, Keithanthony 0169, that might find me.
All right, we'll find it. I'll put the details in this actual video so they can just click it and find you. I'll make it functionable for you, okay?
Okay.
I want to thank you so much for your time once again, and you have a fantastic day. Thank you to my supporters. I love you guys. Please follow me at Achieving Wealth Effortlessly on Facebook, or email me at achievingwealtheffortlessly@gmail.com. If you want to be interviewed, if you feel like you're world's greatest manifestor, contact me. Take care, Keith.
Thank you very much, Laurie. It's been wonderful. Really enjoyed it.
No problem. Bye.
Bye-bye.